before we continue, I got to read the disclaimer here. This meeting is being recorded. The meeting of the the trustees of the Village of Enosburg Falls is being conducted electronically in order to ensure the safety of all attendees and to maintain the compliance with Governor Scott's Executive Order 1-20 and H681, signed into law on March 30th, 2020. Per 681, there's a temporary suspension of designated physical meeting location requirements in Vermont's open meeting law, VSA section 312. In order to ensure that all attendees can hear clearly, your audio has been muted. When you wish to speak, please raise your hand by submitting a chat request, or if you call in, by pressing 9. Once acknowledged by the chair, please clearly state your name and then proceed with your question or comment. Please remember that when unmuted, all participants can hear any sounds in your environment, so please help to ensure that there is no excessive environmental noise. By default, your video is disabled. If you wish to be visible to other attendees, you may turn on your own video by clicking on the video icon. Again, this meeting is being recorded. So first up on the agenda is modifications or changes to the agenda. Does anybody have anything they want to change or add? All right. Hearing none, we'll move on to public comment.
Sam, can you do a quick roll call, please?
Oh yeah, sorry. Leonard?
Here.
Heather?
Here.
Jason?
Here.
Cindy?
Here.
Gary?
Here.
John?
Here.
Matt?
I'm here.
Okay, Sean, and are you here? Maybe. There's Sean. Hi, Sean. All right, I think that's everybody. Yeah, okay. So we'll move on to public comment. I don't think there's anybody here from the public tonight, by the looks. So
Yeah, Sean is a guest.
okay. Do you have anything you want to add, Sean? Or no? Okay.
Okay, he's
Nope.
Okay. Move on to review and approval for the minutes of April 28th. Everybody get a chance to look those over.
Yes.
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 If there were no errors, I hear a motion to accept the minutes.
Cindy Minor, motion to accept minutes.
Second.
Second.
Jason with a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, minutes approved. Up next, we have Enosburg Elementary School public sign request.
I can talk to this if the board would like. In your packets, you'll find a letter, excuse me, from Joanne Reed Allen, who is a teacher and librarian at the Enosburg Elementary School. As part of her services, she also does a story walk in the summertime on the Brownway River Trail system. That's a private piece of property, if folks don't know where that is, that kind of starts at around where the Enosburg Village Highway Department property is, where the Public Works Garage is on Dickinson Avenue. And then if you follow the Missisquoi River, that trail ends around where the beginning of the Missisquoi Street Cemetery is. So, and it's a pretty, large tract of land that all runs right along the Missisquoi River that's owned by the Brown family. And they allow the public to use that property along the trail service there during certain times of the year. And Joanne Reed Allen does a story walk along that trail for people that are interested. And if you go down, read through her letter, one of the comments that she has had from visitors along the trail is that they've told her that they don't feel like the story walk or the trail itself is very well known. And they've suggested to her that she try and see if there's some signage that could be put along Main Street, at the intersection of Dickinson Avenue and Main Street, just indicating to people that, there's a rail, or not a rail trail, but a trail system down here at the end of Dickinson Avenue, and, you know, maybe get some more interest from the public about it. So in her letter, you'll also see she did just a very simple diagram of, you know, what she thinks the signage would look like, and what the verbiage would be on that signage. So it's basically it's a street sign. She's envisioning basically a street sign, just like we have, you know, the little rectangular street signs indicating, you know, what street you're on, whether it's Main Street or Dickinson Avenue or whatever. So this would be attached, you know, below the name of the street, in this case Dickinson Avenue, at that street sign at the intersection of Main Street and Dickinson Avenue. And so she's asking permission to do that from the board. It's a little bit of an unusual request. You don't typically have, you know, people asking for those kinds of attraction signs, at least not in this community. It's not something we've had much of. You know, I'm not opposed to it. I don't think Gary's opposed to it. But the one suggestion, if the board wants to allow for this, that I would make is, in her letter, she's indicating that, you know, she would pay for the sign and help put it up. But my feeling about that is, you know, it's going on a public signpost and going to be, you know, part of our property. So if we're going to allow her to do this, my suggestion would be to just have the village, you know, own it and purchase it and put it up. It'll be our sign. The reason I say that is that I feel like it'll get a little dicey if we start allowing private signs to be posted on, you know, our public street signage posts. Then that's going to get a little weird. But you know, if we own the sign, it belongs to us, then it's our sign. We have responsibility for it. If it gets damaged, we'll replace it, et cetera, et cetera. It's, you know, not a lot of money to do that. And that would be my one recommendation.
Okay. That makes sense. And it sounds like it's pretty good program. I don't know how the board feels, but
I think it's an excellent program, and my experience is she's right on with wanting assistance with helping people find the story walk. Like she says in her letter, she has people from outside of the country attending. And I think it'd be really good for Enosburg in general to promote this project. It's a really family-friendly literacy project that includes nature and recreation.
Does she need zoning, or do we need zoning permission to put something up?
No, I think because of the type of sign that it is, it's, you know, it'd basically be a street sign. That's what it's going to be, attached underneath the Dickinson Avenue sign on the same post. The determination from the town zoning administrator is there wouldn't be a sign permit needed for this.
Okay. I think we have lots of things in town that we could do that for, but we'll concentrate on this one for right now.
how much would a sign like that cost to make? Just out of curiosity.
Gary, do you want to speak to that?
I'm thinking maybe $100 at the most.
I think we could probably cover that.
Maybe less, I'm not really sure, but no more than $100.
Okay. So what does the board want to do?
I say go for it.
Yeah.
Okay, do we need a motion, John?
Yes.
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt, since it's, you know, a new sign that's going to go on our property.
I'll motion to approve the sign.
All right.
Second the motion.
Heather, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
All right. Looks like we're getting a new sign.
All right, very good.
Okay. Up next, we have street scoping study status report.
I can start this discussion. Sean is here, Matt is here. They've been working on this as well. So if you guys feel like I'm missing something, please feel free to chime in. So this project got delayed a little bit, like a lot of things, because of the COVID-19 situation. But we created an ODHAC group, people that have been involved in both the Vital Village steering committee and are also either village or town staff members related to this project. And we've been discussing this quite a bit over the last month and a half or so, trying to get it back on track again and hopefully get the project put out to bid and a contract awarded, summer of this year. And we put together for you to review a timeline for the project, including the RFP process. And I'll go through this with you. If you guys have any comments, we certainly would like to hear those. But basically, we're looking to put the project out for advertisement this week, so we can get ads into the County Courier and the St. Albans Messenger this week. We can also get it posted onto our own village website. We are also planning on getting it onto Vermont League of Cities and Towns website for advertisement to potential engineering firms that might be interested. The deadline for engineering firms to submit proposals would be June 22nd, 10 a.m. Because of the conditions with COVID-19 and just all the unknowns about that, the uncertainty, we are not setting this up to be a public bid opening. So we would just simply receive the bids on June 22nd, and then the members of the ODHAC committee, which are myself, Gary Denton, Matt Miner, and Sean Keogh. I'm sorry, Kyo, Sean, didn't mean to mispronounce your name, sorry. Would then review the bids. We're planning on reviewing them that same day that we receive them. And we would come up with a scoring methodology and, hopefully come to an agreement within the committee as to, who we would like to recommend to the Board of Trustees. That may take a couple of meetings, may take 3. You never know how these things go. But we've got enough time in our schedule that, if we need to have 2 or 3 meetings on this, the time is there. So our plan is to then bring all of the bids, including the recommendation from the steering committee, to the board at your July 14th meeting. And hopefully the board can make a decision at that meeting as to who to award the bid to. Following day, we would make that bid award to whoever the firm is. And the engineering firm would have until July 31st of the following year, 2021, to complete the project. That would still allow for ample time within the grant that we received from the grant that we received from VTrans to get that project done in order to meet all of the reporting requirements of the grant. Under the grant agreement, we don't have to have that project completed until January of 2022. So we'd still be about 5 months, early on the project if it all works out to this schedule here. So I don't know, Gary, Matt, or Sean, whether you have anything else you would like to bring up to the board about this?
No,
Go ahead, Gary.
not at this point. I'm still reading the RFI. I'm still getting back on track to get. I really haven't been involved in it that much, so I'm just trying to learn what's going on. So I'm still reading it.
Okay, that's true. Gary was not so involved in putting the RFP, the actual RFP document together. That's something that more myself, Sean, Matt, and also Greta Brunswick from Regional Planning Commission did. Gary has a copy, but he was sort of on the peripheries of those discussions, not so much directly involved in putting the RFP documents together.
Matt, did you have something?
Can't hear Matt.
Can't hear him out either.
Hey, Matt, we can't hear you. I'll be right back. I don't know if he's aware we can't hear him.
Maybe not.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I just wanted to add the RFP is drafted and ready to be published, and we're set to go with advertising it in the paper this week, unless the board has any desire to change the schedule or to modify the content of the RFP.
I think as long as we're able to get going with it, then might as well.
The only addition would be when we were drafting out the timeline, we were very much looking at grant windows, and regardless, we were pretty much looking at a fall Q3, Q4 of the following year, 21, for the available grant window for the next steps. So we believe we'll have ample time to assess the scoping study and be able to apply that for that round of grant opportunities in Q3, Q4 of 21.
So you think the schedule will be able to be ready for grants upcoming year? Okay. Okay. Did anybody else have any questions, or how do we feel about moving forward with this?
I'm good. Let's go for it.
Yep.
All right. Need a motion on that, or?
Don't have to if you don't want to. If everybody's in agreement, we can just write, there was agreement from the board to move forward with the timeline for the Vital Village scoping study. But if you want to make a motion, that's fine too. Never hurts.
I don't think we need one as long as we're all in agreement.
Aye.
Sounds good.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So is that all on that?
Yep, I think that's all we had on that item.
Next up, we'll the new parks use application.
I think it looks much better.
Yes.
I totally agree.
Had a chance to look that over?
Yes.
Good. Did anybody find anything that they wanted to ask question on or modify in any way?
I had two things that popped into my mind. So on page 2, under the responsibilities of the applicant, I just wondered, it says 1, 2, 3, 4, like 5 down. I am solely responsible for the safety of the attendees at my event. I wonder if it should say I or my organization.
Well, whoever's filling out the permit request is a person. I don't think an organization will fill it out because they have contact info and stuff for a specific person, right?
Well, it says applicant organization name. So if like the EBA wanted to do an event in the park, it wouldn't be one person responsible, correct? It would be the EBA responsible, and it'd be the EBA's insurance.
We can make that modification if you'd like. We can add the I/my organization am responsible. We can do that with each of those items in that section if that would please the board.
I guess in this day and age, that would be, I thought it was assumed that it would be whomever was renting the facility,
Right, yeah.
but you're right. We need to be very specific.
Okay, what was the other thing, Heather?
And this is just like the flow for me, but I wondered about the responsibilities of applicant and the events details. When I first looked through it, like section 1, section 2 makes great sense to be together, but I feel like the responsibilities of applicant kind of answer some questions about things that are on the event details. And so I wondered if it would be worth switching the two.
Do the responsibilities and the event.
Yeah, so event
you
details
go.
be on the back and the responsibilities of the applicant be on the front. I'm totally understand if, I mean, I like
Cindy.
it. I just was wondering about that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's a good conclusion to the permit by acknowledging everything that was on it previously.
I think
Okay,
it's
that makes sense.
better how it is, with the events in the front.
Yeah. That way, they're acknowledging that they understand what the responsibilities are. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't feel super strongly about it. I just just thinking like it answered some questions that came up in the first page.
Okay.
So that's just where my mind was going with that, but I'm not totally stuck on switching it.
Okay. So does everybody want to add I/my organization to all of the responsibilities?
Yes.
Jason, Leonard?
Sure.
Yes. Leonard, yes.
I spoke with John earlier today, and I guess I didn't realize that since we had already approved the parks use ordinance, that there is currently no permit available. So if somebody did want to use the park, they really would either have an outdated permit to fill out, which wouldn't really apply, or a draft of a permit, which it's still a draft at this point. So I guess what I want to say to the board is if there's any other kinks that we need to work out of this, I'd like to do it as soon as possible, because parks application that parks use application that anyone can fill out. So like if somebody walked into the offices and wanted to use the park, that they don't have an option right now. So I'd like to get this application approved in a rather timely manner, because we're coming up on the summer here, parks use time. So
Well, we can approve it now, right? As long as the organization gets added with that stipulation, or do we need to come back and do this again?
I'm not sure, John. What would you think on that? Would we need a clean copy, or?
No, if the board is okay with approving the application, with those revisions you made tonight, then we're good to go. But if you want it brought back to you again, then obviously that's another meeting.
Right.
I think we could trust you.
Yeah, I think so too. It looks really good.
It does.
It's very clean.
Normal too. I like the way it is, and I think if we add the my organization, I think we'll have it. And if you guys are okay with it, I'd like to go ahead and approve this tonight. Oh, Matt.
I would just like to make very clear to the board. The changes that are incorporated into this are those that you requested, but there is one change that wasn't specifically noted in the minutes from your last review of the form, and I want to make sure everybody is aware of it and understands the implication. At the top of the responsibilities of applicant section, I modified the wording there a little bit to be in exact synchronization with the wording that's in the ordinance that you approved. So it says per section 5 of the use of the public parks ordinance, if the event has 100 or more attendees or special activities, e.g. inflatables, tents, special equipment, the applicant will be required to provide either a security deposit, a performance bond, or evidence of liability insurance. On your last draft of the form, it said that if the application is approved, the applicant will be required to provide a binder for liability insurance. It didn't talk about the performance bond option or the security deposit. So I adjusted that wording so that it was exactly synced up with the ordinance, and that is a variation in terms of the content. I just wanted you to be aware of that.
Okay. I think it sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing that in relation to that, down at the bottom of page 2 in the right hand side of the office use only box, I added a checkbox for the staff to confirm that they have indeed provided proof of insurance or bond, if that does seem to be required. That wasn't there before.
Okay. So what?
I make a motion to approve with the additional wording.
I second.
Jason with the first, Cindy with the second. All those in favor of approving this parks use permit application form as written with the addition of I/my organization. In favor of
Aye.
Aye.
those opposed, nay.
Aye.
All right. We got ourselves a permit.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Okay. So up next, we have manager's report.
Yes, thank you, Sam. Got a few things on the written report, and then a few other things I'd just like to fill the board in on, things that have just come up today, actually, that I just want to keep you up to date with. And so first off, wanted the board to be aware that I was contacted by Shauna Lovelet, and she apologized for not making the meeting on the 28th. If you board may recall, she had asked to be on the agenda to speak with you guys about using Lincoln Park for some kind of event that she was still in the planning processes on to help honor the graduating class of 2020 at the Enosburg Falls High School. So as you may recall, she didn't show up to the meeting, but she did contact me the next day, apologized for missing it, and also said she no longer needed to use Lincoln Park. She's worked out another arrangement with the high school itself, and she's working with, I guess, the staff at the high school to try and arrange some sort of event or recognition for the graduating class this year. So she doesn't need to use Lincoln Park anymore. Just wanted to let you guys know that. Also, this is kind of a heads up. We don't know how this is all going to pan out yet, but I at least wanted to bring it to your attention. You may have been thinking about it as well. But again, due to, all of the delays and, difficulties working through the COVID-19 restrictions, we have been experiencing issues with moving pieces of our planned street paving projects forward. Staff will continue to work with our engineer and our contractors as restrictions allow. But I just want to let you guys know, the longer we run into these delays, the more likely we may not be able to complete those paving projects this year. But, I want to assure you we will do our best, but some of this is simply out of our control, and so we have to try and work within this system. But we'll keep you guys apprised as things develop with this. One of the challenges is, you may recall there was some engineering work that needed to be done on the wastewater system on Orchard Street before we could actually do the paving. And there's been delays on that part of it already. I can go into more details with you guys about some of that if you want, but some of it involves personal people's medical histories, which I would not want to speak publicly about. But if you want to contact me privately about it, I'm happy to tell you about some of the challenges that Aldrich and Elliott Engineering has been going through over the past couple of months since this whole thing struck us. Anyway, just letting you know, there have been delays. It appears there will continue to be some delays, and it's possible we may not be able to get those paving projects done this year. We certainly hope we're going to at least get that work done on the wastewater system along Orchard Street in Maine as a minimum.
Would it be possible to get some done, or is it all or nothing on the paving?
Well, we can talk about that. If we get to a point where, we know for sure that the engineering work on Orchard Street is not going to get done in time for it to, go out for a successful bid completion, but you want to still try and get the other three smaller road projects done, we can talk about it. And I mean, it's possible. Orchard Street obviously was the big one in that the other three were, relatively small projects. So it'll be harder to get interest from a contractor with just those three little streets in there. But I don't know, Gary, are you still on the line? Do you have any feedback about that question?
Yeah, I mean, those three little jobs aren't very big, so you may have a lot less interest in that because most of the tonnage is on Orchard Street.
Yeah,
so that's probably.
The other thing that you could consider is just not doing the section of Orchard Street that's affected by the sewer and stormwater replacements, and doing the rest of that street.
You could. You'd have a joint there somewhere by Valentine Drive, but that's, you'd have a joint there somewhere, Matt, that you have to do.
So if it doesn't get done this year due to circumstances, what happens is like the funds kind of stay in that budget line and they roll over to next year. So next year would still be a potential to do the job.
Yeah, we wouldn't lose any of the funding. We haven't even actually got it yet. This is being funded by a bond that was passed at our last annual meeting in March. So, we haven't gone through the actual acquisition of the bonds yet on the road paving project. We've done a lot of the work, but it's not in hand. So yeah, there's no problem with still having the funds available next year if it ends up going that direction.
If I can add to that, we had a check-in call yesterday with the Vermont Bond Bank. As you all might imagine, there are a number of municipal projects across the state that are being impacted the same way with potential construction delays. So there was much discussion about whether or not the bond issue would proceed, and whether or not individual participants in the bond issue would be able to opt out if their projects were not going to be completed this year. There wasn't any specific discussion about still acquiring the funds and what the time limit is in which to expend those funds. And I can follow up and get some clarification from the bond bank if we issue the bonds, but don't do the construction work until next summer, whether or not there are any time limits on when those funds have to be expended.
Okay. All right. So everybody good on that subject for now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. And we'll keep you guys informed on this as we get more information about what a potential timeline might look like to actually get the road paving projects done this year. Next thing, just wanted to make you guys aware, if you are not already, that volunteers from the Enosburg Initiative Group have been working on replacing the fencing in front of the Doughboy statue on Lincoln Park. So they got a group of volunteers together. They have actually removed the steel chain link fence, and they filled in the holes where the posts were for that fence. And the last I heard, they are still trying to get organized to get the installation done with the contractor for sometime this week. I don't know exactly the day, but the last update I had from Jim Cameron on that was they're trying to get it done sometime this week. So that's good progress. I personally think that that's going to be a huge improvement to the front of Lincoln Park to have that new fencing in there. That'll be much snazzier and a smaller footprint as well. So I think that'll, aesthetically make it more attractive as well, not to have such a large fence in front of the Doughboy too.
Totally agree. It's really nice looking downtown right now. The fence gone and the daffodils, the park just looks lovely.
Yeah, it does make a difference. It really does. I myself am really happy to see that fence gone. That when I first came here, that was one of the things I looked at and said, boy, if there's something I can improve in this park, that would be it. So I'm glad to be here to see that change happen. I think it's going to be really nice when they're done.
Yeah, and our street crew has worked really hard this spring, doing the mulching and cleaning the streets. They've done a really good job this year, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, downtown looks nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, and thank the crew for their efforts, Gary.
And we should have the fountain up this week too. We'll be putting the fountain up.
Yeah.
I got to get out more often.
So there's a few other things that actually these things came up just today that I want to update the board on, and it may be valuable for you guys to know these things too, in case you're questioned by anybody in the public about them. So one is we were informed today, Sam and I were informed today by the Legion that they are still planning on having the Vermont Thunder motorcycle event. It is still going to start in Sharon, and it will still end in Enosburg Falls. But they're going to make some changes to it due to concerns about COVID-19. They're not going to do a formal ceremony in Lincoln Park with it. So they're just gonna, it'll still end in Enosburg Falls, but rather than, doing a formal ceremony up on the grandstand and people giving speeches, which is what they typically do to end the event, they're just gonna sort of do a cruise through the downtown area, up Main Street, and maybe around the park, and I'm not sure exactly what routes they're gonna go, but they've informed us that they're going to do just sort of a cruise through the downtown area on their bikes, and maybe wave to people and toot their horns a little bit, and then that'll be it. And then the bikers will just go on their own way. So just wanted to make you guys aware of that. If you get questions from people in the public about the Vermont Thunder event, it is still going to happen, but not with a ceremony on the park this year. Hopefully next year things will be at least closer to normal, and we'll be able do these kinds of community events again in the public. Next, I wanted to also let you guys know that we were contacted by the Lions Club, and it was actually Sam they spoke with, and then Sam talked with me, and we believe we've come to a conclusion about the question that the Lions Club asked, which was, although they have canceled the Dairy Festival for this year, again, due to COVID-19 issues, they would like to still do the fireworks part of it on Saturday night, and wondered, what, if any, permits they would need from the village in order to do that. And Sam and I talked about it, and we came to the conclusion that they didn't really need a permit. We don't have a permit to offer them anyway. It's not a request we have ever had before outside of the Dairy Festival. So there's not like a fireworks permit we could even offer to give them. But in thinking about it, they're not doing it on village property. Where they actually set the fireworks off is over on high school property, over on the ball fields. And, so if people want to come out and watch the fireworks that night, if you've never seen them, they're typically maybe like 15 or 20 minutes, starting, whenever it gets dark enough to do it. So around 9 o'clock-ish, thereabouts. It might be something, nice to, at least show some kind of, positive thing going in the community, and might lift people's spirits a little bit. So anyway, Sam and I concluded that they really didn't need a permit for that. And we've given them the go-ahead to just hold the fireworks part of that on the Saturday night.
Yeah.
So that would be June 6th?
That would be June 6th, yeah.
Okay.
We still had to get in touch with Mark LaRose, I believe, to get a burn permit, and they needed to get in touch with their fireworks people to make sure they would even think to put that on. So there's still a lot of unknowns, but they approached us to see if they needed anything from us, and I didn't think they did. So
Yeah. So
something to look forward to.
Right, exactly. Couple other things. I was informed by the Legion today that they are going to cancel their Memorial Day event, which they typically do on Lincoln Park in front of the Doughboy there. So that event is also being canceled in May. It's at the end of May. And then last but not least, we've got some news to report on Leonards Ledge, which has finally been removed. That got removed yesterday. So Leonard, go take a look over there and see if that meets your satisfaction.
I've already been.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay.
I've already been. Yeah, looks good.
All right, good.
We're gonna put a brass plaque there which says Leonards Ledge on it there for you, Leonard.
Right.
Thank you for getting that done.
No problem.
All right, and
that's
that's all I
dollar
got.
short, we get it done.
Yeah. And that's all I got for manager's report.
okay, we've got some good news in there. Thank you, John.
Yep.
All right, up next, other business.
I have a couple things. On the bad news part, I believe the Harvest Festival has been canceled as well. Yep. And I know that's not until October or whenever that normally is, but that's been canceled. And on a lighter note, the church bell from that church in, what is it, Enosburg Center, the church that's falling down, the bell is available and is looking for a new home. And I thought we might take that on and put it in one of our parks. Maple Park doesn't have anything, and I know it's forgotten quite often. So I'm just putting it out there that the church bell's looking for a home, and maybe we could find one for it.
Cindy, have you ever been to the park in Bakersfield?
What's that?
I'm sorry?
Have you ever been to the park in Bakersfield, Cindy?
No.
They have a pretty interesting bell set up in their park, and if you want to see something pretty cool, head on over there and check that out. And maybe
That bell came from the Congregational Church.
Okay.
So is this the park just on 36? Is that Route 36? Just right off their main street?
Yep.
Yeah, 108. Yes.
108. Yeah.
Yep, 108 and 36.
Yep.
But yeah, they did
Remember,
on a stand and put it in the park there.
it's in a building, has a roof over it, and the kids can ring it. And
Well, I don't know what condition this bell is in or how big it is. I just know it's looking for a home. So I thought we could maybe come up with some ideas.
Yep.
Curious
Sounds
to see what we
good
can
to
do with it. Yeah.
Do something like Bakersfield in one of the parks.
Yeah, check it out if you guys are in the area. It's pretty cool.
right in the middle, you can't miss it.
Bakersfield. I don't even know if I've ever been to Bakersfield.
It's about what, an 18-minute drive.
Yeah,
It's not
head
too
south.
far. It's pretty though.
Head toward Jeff. Don't blink, you might miss it.
Okay.
So Gary, it's good that I got you here. That hole where the water main had broke.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you guys have any plans of repairing that? And if so,
Yeah. Yes, we do. We're gonna we thought we were gonna do it when the paving project, but now we're gonna wait. Once we get some time, we're gonna end up cutting that hole out and paving it right now temporarily. And what I want to do once we get our paving project, I'd like to get them up there to mill it and pave that whole small intersection. But for right now, because of the COVID, we're gonna try to just right now we're gonna wait probably till June. We'll cut it out and put some new regular hot mix in there, do it ourselves. And hopefully when the paving project comes, we can have them do it a better job. That's our plan.
Okay, good.
I know like for community stuff, the Vermont Youth Project and Vermont After School is planning on hosting a community open forum to talk about, as an opportunity for the community to talk about their experiences during the pandemic. So I'll be able to share some information about that once it's created. But the hope is to increase some community support and bring people together during this time where we're still pretty separated.
On that note, John or anybody, do you have any idea of how long the electronic meetings are going to continue?
At this time, no. You know, I've been trying to find out exactly what is going to happen with the governor's executive order. There's some things that are within the order itself and within the 13 different addendums that have been made to the order since it was enacted that, you know, they're in some ways they kind of contradict themselves. And Sam and I have touched on this subject a couple of different times in the last week or so. My guess is, in the people that I've talked to, is that the governor is probably not going to allow the executive order to expire on March 15th, which is when it's slated to expire right now. Other people I've talked to in the profession, including some folks from Vermont League of Cities and Towns, don't believe that is going to happen. They believe he's going to extend the executive order again. Further evidence, I would say, that suggests that is that even 3 days ago, he enacted addendum number 13, which is an addendum that is going to allow for the very beginnings of retail stores to open up again in the state. There's a lot of restrictions that are going to be on them in order to do it, but it's a small beginning to get some of the retail stores open in the state again. And that is not going to take effect until May 18th, which is next Monday. So that tells me that if the governor honestly didn't think he was going to extend the executive order, he wouldn't be making these addendums that don't even have beginning times until after, you know, the addendum is set to expire. You know, so I think in the next few days here, we're going to see him sign another order that extends that time period. How long it'll be, I have no idea.
Yeah, John, I think your instinct with that is spot on, because we're seeing like in the summer planning mode for like summer programs, they're looking at to potentially loosen some of the restrictions, but they're still currently 10 people to a room. And the VOSHA trainings are still talking about no shared break rooms and masks within businesses if you can't be within if you don't have your own room and stuff like that. So yeah, the restrictions are going to go on for a while. He did say that actually, that the social distancing is here to stay for a while. He said that in one of his addresses.
Yeah, that's what it all seems to point to when I try to look at all the different things that are going on. I don't think this is going to go away. I think that he's going to, in the next few days here, extend the executive order again to some other period. Who knows? Maybe it'll be 2 weeks. Maybe it'll be a month. We'll just have to see what he does. So yeah, to answer your question, Sam, I think the electronic meetings are going to have to happen for a while because, you know, just the social distancing alone prevents us from being able to have a public meeting in any of our meeting spaces here. And the town, to my knowledge at least, is still not allowing any members from the public into the emergency services building. So that's still off the table.
Right. Okay. Does anybody else have any other business?
I just want to say you're all styling with your new headphones on.
Thank you.
Okay.
I left mine just at the office.
So Gary's not styling tonight.
I'm not styling.
Okay.
I got my little hat on.
I think Sean wants to say something.
John, you got something?
Yeah, just piggybacking off of the comments about kind of the release of new restrictions. I've been fielding a lot of emails and questions from local business owners. So that's just making it known that I'm a resource. I've been kind of inundating myself with the information and restrictions as they're getting lifted. So should they need somebody local to speak to, you know, feel free to share my information and they can reach out to me. That, you know, I'm available to hopefully answer questions should they have, should they have some. The only other item just to share with you guys is I completed a COVID-19 related FEMA grant today for fire and ambulance. Just kind of filling you guys in. It's not necessarily directly trustee business, but just letting you guys know that that was for some PPE and some disinfecting equipment for response vehicles, facilities, equipment, and things like that. So hopefully we will get that and be able to get some like very nice professional equipment to be able to sanitize our first responders' equipment and vehicles.
Awesome. Thank you for doing that. Yeah. Usually that kind of reminds me to the, I brought it up, I think the last time of there's the weekly, but it's not bi-weekly emergency management meetings that Northwest Regional Planning Commission is putting on. They have put it to every other week. So there's one this Thursday. But as things open up, it might be a good opportunity to problem solve with other community members, you know, what we're doing in compliances and stuff. It was very interesting, just the different responses of the different communities in our areas. I'd wanted to reach out to Pierre and Polly, but couldn't find Pierre's email address. So I think I might need to go through Bobby Joe to to them to see about like select board participation too. But yeah, it's definitely good information that's coming through those groups.
Okay, does anybody else have anything?
Nope.
Nope.
All right, well, if that's it for tonight, then I'll take a.
Sam, you keep going in and out. Did you ask for a motion to adjourn? No, I can't hear you.
Can you guys hear?
Yeah, he
Oh,
did.
there we
Cindy.
go.
Okay.
I motion to adjourn.
Okay, Cindy with the first, I have a second.
I'll second it.
Heather with the second. All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, let's adjourn.